Imagine finding out that most of what you believe about your life, your limits, your habits, even your truths, was never really yours. That your daily thoughts, your reactions, and the world you think you're navigating are actually shaped by hidden filters you didn't even know existed. Sounds crazy, right? But what if that's exactly why you feel stuck, uninspired, or like you're meant for more, but can't explain why? The real trap isn't your job, your past, or your circumstances. It's your perception. You've been handed a mental GPS that's programmed with outdated routes, rerouting you away from everything you say you want. But here's the twist. The second you realize this system exists, you gain the power to rewrite it. In this video, I'm going to show you how your subconscious filters are secretly deciding what's real, how your thoughts became habits, and how to finally take the wheel back. No fluff, no spiritual cliches, just raw insight that'll flip your understanding of reality upside down. You'll never see your life the same way again. 1. The box you didn't know you were in. He didn't even realize he was trapped. That's how it works. Mental conditioning doesn't feel like a prison because it's invisible. Most men spend their whole lives following silent rules they never agreed to. Work hard, don't question too much, play it safe. The result? A loop of repetition disguised as progress. The worst part isn't that people are stuck. It's that they don't even know there's another way to live. They were told what's possible and what's not before they even had a chance to explore. And like a chess master who loses to a beginner because he's too deep into the rules, most people lose at life because they never thought to question the game. They don't see the trap. They keep chasing success, but it's based on someone else's definition. That's how the box maintains its grip, through blind obedience dressed up as wisdom. Here's something practical. Take one day and write down every belief you have about money, relationships, or success. Then ask yourself, where did I learn this? You'll be surprised to see how many of them came from parents, school, religion, or society, not your own direct experience. That's the start of peeling back the layers. You can't create a new reality if you're still building with someone else's bricks. You're not crazy for wanting more. You're not wrong for feeling like there's something off about the way the world works. That discomfort you've been carrying, that's awareness knocking on the door. The illusion of choice fades when you realize you've only been choosing between options inside the same cage. But now that you've seen the bars, something starts to shift in how you perceive everything. 2. Your brain decides what's real before you do. Every second, your brain is scanning the environment and tossing out what it thinks doesn't matter. That's how subconscious filters work. They prioritize efficiency over truth. If you've been trained to expect problems, your mind will ignore anything that looks like a solution. It's not that opportunities aren't showing up. It's that your mind deletes them before you can even notice. The real trap isn't what's happening around you. It's what your brain refuses to let you see. Think about it. You've probably walked into a room looking for your keys, stared directly at them, and swore they weren't there. Then, 5 minutes later, boom, they're right where you were looking. That's inattentional blindness. And it's not a bug. It's a feature of perception. Your brain filtered out the object because it didn't expect it to be there. Now imagine what else you're not seeing because you weren't trained to look for it. The same thing happens in your life. If your mind expects rejection, you'll miss signs of connection. If it believes money is hard to earn, it'll tune out ways to make more. You'll attract what your brain thinks is normal. To change your results, you need to change your defaults. A good start: begin your day by asking, what's one thing I've been ignoring that might actually help me? Then act on it, no matter how small. It's not about thinking positively, it's about thinking differently. Because your brain isn't trying to make you happy, it's trying to keep you safe. And safe usually means familiar. But familiar doesn't equal truth. And once you realize your perception is being filtered by outdated beliefs, you stop reacting and start designing. And from there, The illusion of free thought begins to crack. 3. The illusion of free thought. You think you're making choices, but most of the time, your subconscious has already made them for you. Studies show that the brain often fires the signal to act before you even realize you've decided. That's not a conspiracy. It's just how your system's been wired through years of mental conditioning. What feels like free will is usually a pre-recorded pattern playing out in real time. The trick is noticing when it happens. Ever suddenly crave junk food after a bad day? That wasn't you deciding. It was your brain running an old script. Pain equals comfort equals sugar. The same goes for how you respond to criticism, success, or risk. If every time you get an exciting idea, a voice shows up saying, "That's unrealistic," guess what? That's not your intuition. It's the filter talking. And it's been there since you were a kid, shaped by every voice that told you to be careful, behave, or play small. Breaking that pattern doesn't require a full-blown revolution. It starts with tiny interruptions. When you catch yourself reacting on autopilot, stop and ask, is this really me or just a habit? One simple example. The next time you scroll mindlessly through your phone, pause. Ask what you're avoiding. That moment of awareness cracks the loop and gives you a window to choose something new. Maybe read 5 pages of a book that challenges your thinking. Try The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. The illusion of free thought is so convincing because it feels personal. But most of your ideas, fears, and even dreams were borrowed. Once you get that, everything starts to change. The mind doesn't like being challenged, but challenge is the only way to remember how much freedom you've actually got. And once you start remembering, you'll notice something strange about the imagination you used to have. 4. Why your childhood imagination vanished. When you were a kid, your perception of reality was wide open. A blanket became a superhero cape. A stick turned into a sword. You didn't question whether it was real. You just felt it. That raw creative force wasn't imagination. It was your natural ability to shape reality before subconscious filters took over. But then, little by little, the world told you to grow up, be practical, and stay within the lines, and your mind adjusted to fit the mold. School taught you facts, not how to think. Family taught you rules, not how to question. Society taught you roles, not how to dream. And so your imagination got pushed aside by expectations. The mind began filtering out what didn't fit the adult version of reality, one based on logic, fear, and predictability. That's how the magic started fading. You stopped seeing spaceships in cardboard boxes and started seeing problems in every opportunity. But here's something interesting, that imagination didn't die. It just got buried under years of mental conditioning. You can reactivate it. Start by giving yourself permission to do something pointless. Doodle, write nonsense in a journal, take a different route home. These small acts break the pattern and confuse the filter long enough to wake up your deeper self. Want to go further? Try a breathwork session or float therapy. They'll shake your system out of the loop. Most men think they've lost their creative spark, but it's still there, waiting. And the moment you get even a glimpse of it, the question becomes, why did your mind erase it in the first place? That's when things get personal, because the identity your brain protects so fiercely might be the very thing standing between you and the life you were born to create. 5. Your mind protects the lie you call you. Here's the kicker. Your brain doesn't care if your beliefs are true, it only cares if they're familiar. That's why it clings to the old story you tell yourself, even if it's full of pain, limitation, or self-doubt. It's not trying to sabotage you, it's trying to protect a version of you that it believes is safe. The problem is, that version might be a watered-down version, built from fear, not truth. Ever been in an argument where someone says, "You always do this," and you instantly deny it, only to question it later in the shower? That's your subconscious filter rejecting anything that threatens the identity it's glued to. It defends old patterns because they feel like home, even if they're toxic. You could get proof you're talented, loved, or capable, but if it doesn't match your internal script, your mind will filter it out like spam. So how do you deal with this mental bodyguard? You catch it in the act. One way, journal the compliments you hear and the opportunities that come your way, especially the ones you tend to dismiss. Then reread them when your mind says you're not enough. Another method, try identity-based affirmations like, "I'm the kind of man who takes risks," instead of vague statements like, "I'll be rich." You're rewiring the root, not just the surface. Your sense of self is like software. It's not the real you, just the current version you're running. And just like an old app, it crashes when you try to install something new. But once you realize the software can be updated, the game shifts. And then you'll see how powerful perception really is when it comes to shaping the world around you. 6. Perception is what shapes your world. Two men can walk into the same room and have completely different experiences. One sees opportunity, the other sees risk. One feels welcomed, the other feels judged. The difference isn't in the room, it's in the filter. Perception isn't passive, it's active. It's constantly shaping how you interpret people, places, and even your own potential. And if your perception is clouded by mental conditioning, you'll keep reliving the same script. That's why some people always seem to be in the right place at the right time. It's not luck, it's their filter letting in things your filter deletes. They notice different cues, ask different questions, and act on what you've been trained to ignore. And the wild part, you can train your mind to see those things too. It just takes intentional rewiring. One tool that helps, write down 3 things every day that went right, no matter how small. That habit alone shifts your internal lens. Your brain isn't evil, it's efficient. It's always trying to confirm what you already believe. If you think life is hard, your mind will serve up proof all day long. If you believe good things happen often, it'll find those too. It's not magic. It's perception. And once you realize your outer world is a mirror of your inner filter, things start clicking. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you expect. Start experimenting. Go somewhere new. Talk to people you'd usually avoid. Read something that challenges your worldview. Try The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz or Power vs. Force by David Hawkins. These small shifts crack the shell of perception, and once that shell breaks, the habits you thought were facts start looking very different, especially when you realize they were never really yours to begin with. 7. Your thoughts are habits, not facts. Most men believe their thoughts are sacred. They assume if a thought shows up, it must be real, personal, and true. But in reality, most thoughts are just old recordings on repeat. Habits, not facts. Your brain doesn't invent something new every day. It recycles yesterday's ideas. That's why it's so easy to feel stuck, because your mind keeps playing the same mental playlist, and you don't even realize you're dancing to it. Imagine waking up every morning, grabbing your phone, and scrolling without thinking. That's a habit. Now zoom in, your internal dialogue does the same thing. I'm not good with money. I'm not a morning person. I've always been anxious. These aren't truths, they're practiced lines. You've just repeated them enough times for your brain to treat them like commands. And like any habit, they can be broken, but only if you see them clearly. Want to challenge that mental routine? Here's a real exercise. Spend 1 full day writing down every negative or limiting thought you catch. At night, go back and rewrite each one as a possibility instead of a limitation. I'm not good with money becomes I'm learning to master money. That simple shift starts loosening the mental grip. You're not lying to yourself. You're giving your brain a new pattern to practice. This is how you break the loop. Not by forcing new thoughts, but by interrupting the old ones. Your mind may resist at first. It loves familiarity, but consistency beats resistance every time. And once you create space between you and the script, you'll remember something powerful. You're not your thoughts. You're the one choosing whether to believe them. And that's the moment you start reclaiming control. 8. reclaiming the power to create. Your brain isn't just filtering reality, it's shaping it before you even get a say. That's why most people don't need new information. They need a new perception. Once you catch your mind filtering out what matters, you can start slipping past the gatekeeper. It's not about fixing your life, it's about seeing it clearly. And when that happens, something clicks. You're not at the mercy of life. You're sculpting it with every thought you allow or reject. So how do you take the wheel back? You start by asking better questions. Not what do I want, but what have I been trained to ignore? That flips the script. Next, expose yourself to new environments. Go to a bookstore and pick a section you've never explored. Talk to someone outside your circle. Let your brain get uncomfortable. It's in those moments that the filter weakens and your creative power kicks back in. Autopilot is the enemy of creation. Every time you say, "That's just how I am," you reinforce a script written by someone else. Want to take control? Practice catching yourself in those moments. When you feel like procrastinating, ask, what would a man creating his reality do right now? Then do it. Could be as simple as taking a cold shower, starting that journal, or finally recording that idea you've been sitting on. This is where things stop feeling theoretical and start becoming real. Because once you realize your perception was never fixed, your world stops being a reaction and becomes a reflection. And from that point on, the idea of being stuck loses its power. Now, the only question that matters is, what are you going to build next? If you want to elevate your vibrations and manifest with more ease, I have prepared something special for you. Click the link in the first pinned comment and join us in the journey of awakening your inner mage.